Let's move to the Sorcerer, which the name remains the same. And we have again 3 hard specializations, and this might surprise you being a sorcerer or sorceress. We have Dominator of Ulgu, which is a DPS hard specialization. We have Dominator of Gore, which is offensive support. And then we have Dominator of Shish, which is a heal. Yes, you heard me right. The sorcerer has Ulgu. Ulgu. Grr. Thanks. So the first one is Ulgu. The next one is Gur. And the other one is Shaish. Or shit. Shaish. Shaish. Shite. I don't know. I'm not good with these names, man. I always find it hard to pronunciate this. But so we have on the sorcerer, we do have a DPS, an offense support, and a heal. Let's go and see the specifics. Let's see. We're going to be using Wings of Magic. Shaish. Okay. Winds of Magic. This is the main mechanic of the sorcerer. Every 3 seconds, you will gain 1 stack of a Wind of Magic at random: Shadow, Beast, and Death, stacking up to a maximum of 3. Whenever you cast a spell of that lore of magic, it will consume 1 stack if present and augment the spell. You have access to a no cost, no cooldown toggle ability, which prevents you from using Winds of Magic while active. Okay, I hope that was clear. Blade Wind. It's your basic attack. You deal 6% spell attack power and 133 spiritual damage to target enemy, and you generate 40 action points. Doombolt. Oh, our favorite. 3-second cast time, deals 55% spell attack power and 744 spiritual damage to target enemy. Word of Pain, insta-cast, 100 feet, applies an affliction to target enemy for 10 seconds. At the end of the duration, target will take 23% spell attack power and 311 spiritual damage. Sorry guys, but talking has its problems. Gloom, 1.5 second cast time, Lore of Shadow, so you're going to have the Winds of Magic point there. Deals 27% spell attack power and 371 spiritual damage to target enemy. If it's augmented through the Winds of Magic, all right, the ability becomes instant and you don't have to wait that 1.5 second cast time. Curse of Anair. This is part of the Lore of the Beast. It deals 10% spell attack power, 145 corporeal damage to target enemy, and applies 1 stack of reduced strength. It does have a 1 second cast time. If it's augmented, applies 1 stack of reduced toughness and reduced corporeal resistance. That is on top of the reduced strength. It doesn't replace them, it's on top because you augment the spell. Cloaking Shadows, Lore of Shadow, applies silence and inevitable to target enemy. If it's augmented, applies ensnared and momentum. So it's a silence, and if you augment it, you also make it a slow. With ensnared reduces the movement speed by 30% for 16 seconds. Soul Harvest, 1 second and 1.75 second cast time. Lore of Death, applies an affliction to target enemy for 15 seconds. Every 3 seconds, the target will take 12% spell attack power and 175 spiritual damage, and your defensive target will be healed for 100% of the damage dealt. So we're starting to have a little bit of a heal here on the sorcerer. For the defensive target, of course, it could be yourself. If it's augmented, ability is now instant cast and applies a blessing. The difference between affliction and blessing, which I'm not sure which is which, one is easier to dispel than the other, so you make your spells harder to be removed. Yeah, but can you play the game? The ones that have applied for testers, they can when the tests are up. The rest of us, we just have to wait until it's ready. But there's nothing wrong to get ourselves a little bit more acquainted with what to expect when they come out, because have you ever seen a sorcerer heal? Have you seen a shaman in stealth? Because I haven't, so I want to be ready when it comes to that, because it's a totally different mechanic on this. Boar's Hide, Lord of Beast, instant no cost. Your damage reduction is increased by 50% and your cast times are increased by 33% for 4 seconds. This is your detaunt. So you take 50% less damage, but you increase all your casting times. And if it's augmented, the cooldown is reduced from 40 seconds to 20 seconds. I'm assuming the tactics will be similar to the Bride of Cain, since they are pretty much racial and you start with them, but we'll go through them a little bit quickly. Alignment of Nagaroth. Whenever you use a basic attack, all group mates within 100 feet that have this tactic will gain 670 critical hit rating for 4 seconds. Bathing in Blood, you are healed for 7% of all damage you deal. Empowered Dar, whenever you hit an enemy with an augmenting spell, you will dispel 1 enchantment from them. And Tapping the Dark reduces the cast time of Doombolt by 1 second. The Sorcerer, choosing to play the hard specialization of Ulgu. The first 2 are racial, the second 2 are class. Thank you. You can equip staffs. The morals you're starting with is Disengage, Moral 1, you knock yourself back away from target enemy. Moral 2, Focus Mind, you gain a buff for 15 seconds. Abilities will have 50% faster cast time and you will have 100% pushback immunity. Explosive Impact, Morale 3. You gain a buff for 10 seconds. Whenever you hit a target with a single target ability, you will deal 10% range attack power and 150 corporeal damage and 10% spell attack power and 150 elemental damage up to 24 enemies within 20 feet of that target. So you just add more damage plus an AoE component to your spells for 10 seconds. And Morale 4, Unleash the Winds. Up to 96 enemies within a 20-foot location you select are knocked straight up into the air. Just to say a few things here, because I still don't get it, but apparently there is a gravity component, right? I don't know how that's going to work, but they go up in the air and pretty much they can't use any spells because they're on a movement, maybe an instant or 2. So I would consider this AoE as a AoE interrupt and things like that. That's where I would class it. All right, let's go into the specifics of the Dominator of Ulgu. We'll just pick 2 random stats there to unlock some stuff. Embodiment of Ulgu, passive with 4 ranks. Whenever you augment a Lore of Shadow spell, you will gain 3% dodge for 5 seconds. And you can max this out to be a 12% dodge for 5 seconds. Farsight, increase your range by 20%. That's the first tactic. Improve Boar Hide with 2 ranks passive. Boar Hide now lasts 5 seconds more, 6 seconds more. Basically, you increase the duration of your detaunt if you wish, if you want to. There's some more stats here if you want strength, intelligence, or whatever. Ashes and Dust has 1 rank, 2.5 second cast time, belongs to the Lord of Death. Deals 18% spell attack power and 240 spiritual damage up to 9 enemies within 30-foot area you select. And if you do enhance it, the cast time is reduced by 1.5 seconds. So it becomes 1 second cast time. If you pick this spell, and I say if you pick because you only have 31 points, you can't pick everything. Ashes and Dust, yep. You can have improved Ashes and Dust present. And now Ashes and Dust will now deal 5% more damage. It's 2 ranks, I'm assuming goes up to 10%. We'll see how much when we get there. Hunter's Trap is a Morale 1, applies Root It, so you can root somebody that you want. Mockery of Death, it's part of the Lore of Death spell category. 1.5 second cast time, applies an alignment to target enemy for 10 seconds. Whenever the target is healed, you will deal 9% spell attack power and 128 spiritual damage to the healer. This is a reverse what's called healing debuff. All right, so you put out on a player you're fighting. So instead of reducing the healing he receives, you transfer a certain amount of damage, which is 9% of your spell attack power and 120 spiritual, directly to the healer. So if the healer is focusing on that person, he might die because of the damage you give. And if you happen to augment this spell, effect is now a cripple and will deal 25% damage to the target as well. So a 9% of your spell power plus whatever will go to the healer, and if you augment it, 25% of that will also go to the target. So yeah, keep healing and keep damaging 2 people at the same time. Kind of nasty. And if you choose that one, you also unlock Never-Ending Agony. Never-Ending Agony. Shouldn't there be 2 words, never-ending, or is that one? Anyways, Mockery of Death now applies a minus 33% outgoing healing debuff. So with the tactic, you can choose if you want to do outgoing healing debuff or damaging people. I don't know which one is better. We're going to have to, as our friend Morphosapien said, we're going to have to play the game and see some of this, which ones are better than the other. Some more stats here. Agility, improved Blade Wind, passive with 2 ranks. Blade Wind will now generate 46 action points. By the way, when you heal yourself, you are the healer. Oh, okay, so you can hurt yourself as well. Okay, that's going to be fun. Vision of Domination. Word of Pain is now a cripple with a 6-second duration. Shroud of Darkness, morale 2. Target ally gains a buff of 5 seconds. Each second, they will gain 1 stack of enhanced piercing resistance, enhanced impact resistance, enhanced ego resistance, enhanced corporeal resistance, enhanced elemental resistance, and enhanced spiritual resistance. Holy crap. Couldn't you just say 1 stack of all enhanced resistances? Jesus Christ. So it's a morale that you can throw at somebody and increase all the resistances. Sorry, I'm still laughing at what you said. That when you heal yourself, you're the healer. Would that count for potions as well? So like, we do Mockery of Death, and then we drink a potion, we take damage. Oh, okay. Whenever the target is healed... Oh, it counts for potion. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay. Where are we going now? Hold on a second, because I still find that funny. I still find it funny. Pit of Shades, 75 action points, 6-second channel, part of the Lord of Shadow. Every second, deal 6% spell attack power and 67 spiritual damage up to 9 enemies within a 20-foot area you select. If your augmenting tick interval is now every 0.66 seconds. If we choose this, we can also unlock a tactic called Shadow of Disaster. Pit of Sage and Ashes of Dust will now hit up to 24 enemies. So that is, I think this is a nice tactic to pick, because again, I would say you can change tactics in combat. So if you switch from a small fight as you're roaming and you need to go to a keep or join a warband, you just change your tactics and you're ready to go. Doom and Gloom. Where's Doomforce? That's his like second nickname, Doom and Gloom. Gloom applies the cripple to target for 5 seconds. Whenever they take damage from Doom Bolt or Shadow Bolt, up to 2 additional enemies within 20 feet will take Gloom damage. Improved Word of Pain. Word of Pain will now deal 5% more damage. You can crank it up to 25% if you want to spend 5 points. Grip of Fear tactic. Curse of Andrahair. Augmented effects now apply to up to 23 additional enemies within 30 feet of the target. So we make our Curse of Andrahair a much bigger AoE. Yeah, this is the improved Ashes and Dust, 10% more damage. Echo of Power tactic. Whenever you augment a Lore of Shadow spell, you will gain 12% critical chance for 5 seconds. We talked about the Shadow of Disaster. Final Words, passive with 3 ranks. You have 5% outgoing damage and outgoing healing against targets with 40% or less health. Outgoing damage and outgoing healing. Okay, so you can deal 50% more damage, and then you can target yourself and heal with the potion, and you get 40% more healing. Okay, that's good. Extra crit with 3 ranks passive. Your chance to critically hit is increased by 2%. Small parenthesis again. Sorry, because this just kind of give me the opportunity to say this. Because I know a lot of us played the original game. Some of you may have played Flame of War, which is an active server, and Return of Reckoning. But the reason why you find here the extra agility points and wounds and critical in some of the classes that they need it is because there is no renown points. This is all you get. This is the tree that you get. The renown is going to be used for other functions in the game. So this is a mixed skill renown point here. So you can get 31. That's why you have all this. There's no extra renown points. So this is why it's going to be a little bit more tricky to do builds. Murderous Prowess. You gain, it's a morale 3, you gain 50% critical chance and accuracy for 20 seconds. Verge of Victory, the renowned tactic. Whenever you land a killing blow, you will gain 20 adrenaline per second for 8 seconds. Whenever a group mate within 100 feet lands a killing blow, you will gain 5 adrenaline per second for 8 seconds. Adrenaline is the morale currency resource. Master of Ulgu. Every 5 seconds, you generate 1 wind of shadow. Oh, so you want us to play shadow on this one? Oh, you tricky little bastards. Joking. Horn of Andar. Passive with 4 ranks. Whenever you critically hit with a single target ability, you have a 10% chance to gain 1 stack of a hand's potency. So I suppose we could play this one as a sniper build, single target. Arnzipal's Black Horror. Damn, that's difficult names. Applies an enchantment to target ally for 15 seconds. Whenever you are attacked, you will deal 7% spell attack power and 89 corporeal damage to the attacker. For 50 seconds, target ally. So it's a reflect damage spell, okay. Winter Frost, morale 4. Up to 24 enemies within a 20-foot area you select become rooted, silenced, and disarmed. I really like this morale 4. We've seen it yesterday on the elves as well. I really like this morale. Shadow Bolt. It's part of the Lord of Shadow. It is a 3-second cast. Deals 38% spell attack power and 506 spiritual damage to target enemy and 2 additional enemies within 20 feet. If you augment it, which I'm assuming you will, you deal an additional 22% spell attack power and 305 spiritual damage instead. Oh, so this is not additional, is instead. Instead, I mean, what do you change here instead? You hit 2 additional 20 feet, deals an additional 22. So I'm sorry, Ramasee, need some help here. This is confusing me a bit. So I'm gonna deal 38% spell attack power. Oh, it's a leftover. Okay, because I'm dealing this damage and spiritual, and then it says spiritual damage instead. Okay, so we're just gonna deal more damage if we augment it. That's what I'm gonna keep for that until the tooltip is corrected there. And then the Zerg Busting ability is Power of Darkness. It's a 3-second channel. Every 0.5 seconds, you deal 5% spell attack power and 50 spiritual damage to up to 48 enemies within 30-foot area you select. Each time you strike an enemy, you will gain a stack of a buff that grants 10% outgoing damage per stack to a maximum of 100 stacks that lasts for 1 second. Will not hit enemies who have cover from you. So it's the same as the Bride of Cain, more or less. But these Zerg abilities, that's why we have them. They really have the potential, if coordinated well, and it's a lot of them, to really do a lot of damage and hurt people when they cluster. It used to say 60% and 811 damage instead, but isn't accurate. It's how it functions, so I changed it. Okay. But at the current state, it needs a little bit of rewarding there. It's a bit confusing. Anyways. Glad to help to find those little things that probably will help people not get confused as I am in the near future. So this concludes the Dominator of Ulgu, which is the first hard specialization for the Sorcerer, which is a DPS specialization. The second hard specialization for the Sorcerer is Dominator of Gur, if I say this correctly. I have a problem with this name, sorry guys. Just taking the piss a bit. Which is an offensive support. It's not a DPS, it's an offensive support. Again, we have the Winds of Magic. We have Blade Wind, which is your basic attack with 6% spell attack power and 133 spiritual damage to target enemy and generate 40 action points. Doombolt, the 3-second cast, nice lovely spell that deals 55% spell attack power and 744 spiritual damage to target enemy. Curse of Andrahair, again, it's part of the Lore of the Beast, 1-second cast time. You deal 10% spell attack power, 145 corporeal damage to target enemy and apply 1 stack of reduced strength. And if you augment it, you apply 1 stack of reduced toughness and reduced corporeal resistance. Word of Pain. So far the setup is pretty much the same with the DPS setup. Applies an alignment to target enemy for 10 seconds. At the end of the duration, target will take 23% spell attack power and 311 spiritual damage. Mockery of Death. Now this is a little bit different because Mockery of Death is somewhere around the middle of the previous hard specialization. This one is 1.5 second cast time, is part of the Lore of Death, and applies an alignment to target enemy for 10 seconds. Whenever the target is healed, you will deal 9% spell attack power and 128 spiritual damage to the healer. If you augment it, effects is now cripple and will deal 25% to the target as well. Cloaking Shadows, part of the Lore of Shadows, applies silence. And if you augment it, also slow by 30% for 16 seconds. Gloom, part of the Lore of Shadow, 1.5 second cast time. Deals 27% spell attack power and 371 spiritual damage to target enemy. If you augment it, guess what? It's instant. Pants Impenetrable Pelt. Pants Impenetrable Pelt. Jesus, man. Who came up with these names? It's part of the Lore of Beast, 30 action points, insta-cast. Applies 1 stack of enhanced piercing resistance, 1 stack of enhanced ego resistance, 1 stack of enhanced block, and 1 stack of reduced impact resistance to target ally. So it's a defensive little thingy you can give. If you augment it, applies an 8-second enchantment as well, on top of all the things just mentioned. And for that duration, the 8 seconds target's damage reduction is increased by 20%. So they take 20% more damage. Games Workshop did those bastards. The 2 racial tactics you're going to start with, if you pick this specialization, is Alignment of Nagaroth. Whenever you use this basic attack, all group mates within 100 feet that have this tactic equipped will gain 670 critical hit rating in 4 seconds. Bathing in Blood, you are healed for 7% of the damage you deal. Empowered Dar, whenever you hit an enemy with an augmented spell, you will dispel 1 enchantment from them. And Tapping the Dark reduces the cast time of Doombolt by 1 second. On this specialization, the Sorcerer, being an offensive support, can equip 200 spears. The DPS will hold the stuff, the offensive support will have 200 spears. The morals you're going to start with is Disengage as morale 1. You knock yourself back away from target enemy. Focus Mind. For 15 seconds you gain a buff and your abilities will cast 50% faster and you will have 100% pushback immunity. Explosive Impact. Morale 3. You gain a buff for 10 seconds. Whenever you hit a target with a single target ability, you will deal 10% range attack power and 150 corporeal damage and 10% spell attack power and 150 elemental damage up to 24 enemies within 20 feet of your target. So your damage from the spell and extra single target damage and AoE damage around the target. And of course, morale 4, unleash the winds. Up to 96 enemies within 20-foot location you select are knocked straight up in the air. Now let's go and see what are the main differences from the DPS being an offensive support. We pick some random stats here. Wings of Falcon, passive with 4 ranks. Whenever you augment a Lore of Beast spell, you will gain 6% movement speed for 5 seconds. So if we max this out to 4 points, whenever we augment a spell from the Lore of Beast, we gain 24% movement speed for 5 seconds. Water Rush is the first tactic you can choose. The action points of your skills are reduced by 33% on allies that are lower than 40%. Embodiment of Grr. Passive. Whenever you cast Pan's Impenetrable Pelt, it will always apply to you as well. Okay, that's a nice... Where's the Pelt one? Oh, this is the one that gives you all the resistances. Okay. More stats here if somebody needs them. Ashes and Dust, rank 1, 2.5 second cast, part of the Lord of Death. Deals 18% spell attack power and 240 spiritual damage to up to 9 enemies within 30-foot area you select. And if it's augmenting, the cast time is reduced by 1.5 seconds, making it a 1 second cast time. We also can pick on this level, Hunter's Trap Morale 1 applies Rooted. So you can root somebody with this morale if you want to. Next lane, Amber Spear. It's a tactic. Doombolt now deals corporeal damage and applies 1 stack of reduced armor and 1 stack of reduced block to the target. Arnsipal's Black Horror. Instant. Applies an enchantment to target ally for 15 seconds. Whenever they are attacked, you will deal 7% spell attack power and 89 damage to the attacker. Basically, it's a 15-second thorn you can give, definitely being a support. Offensive support, so you can drop that in your tank. It's going to be hit a lot, and then you can start DPSing through that. Or you can go to Reflect. I prefer Thorns personally, but improved Blade Wind. Blade Wind will now generate 46 action points. It's going to be great when I get down to the bottom. Okay, give me a second. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Grip of Fear tactic. Curse of Anahir's augmenting effects now apply to up to 23 additional enemies within 30 feet of the target. I like the AoE stuff because you can change tactics in combat and you can very quickly change the way you play. Shroud of Darkness, Morale 2. Target ally gains a buff for 5 seconds. Each second they will gain 1 stack of enhanced piercing resistance, 1 enhanced impact resistance, enhanced ego resistance, enhanced corporeal resistance, enhanced elemental resistance, and enhanced spiritual resistance. Dude, just make it 1 stack of all enhanced resistances. Seriously. Never ending. Sorry, I gotta have some fun with this. Never ending agony. Mockery of Death now applies a minus 33% ongoing healing debuff. If you want to change that. Mockery of Death, when the target is healed, you deal damage to the healer. With this tactic, you just make it a pure outgoing healing debuff. Which means you have to apply it to the healer because it's outgoing. The other one you apply to your target, so when the healer is healing that person, the damage goes to the healer. So it's 2 different things, and it depends how you want to play, I suppose. Amber Trance, passive with 2 ranks. Gloom will now apply Staggered and Unstoppable to target enemy. This effect can only happen once every 60 seconds. The Stagger effect prevents all control of the character for 9 seconds, so it's a 9-second Stagger. And Unstoppable prevents the application of the Stagger for 30 seconds. Ramasee, remind me something. When someone is staggered, can damage break the stagger, or damage has a chance to break the stagger? Because I don't remember how it works here. Eyes of Truth tactic. You can see players under Stalk, and your abilities will dispel Stark from enemy hit. This is exactly the same tactic the Ashur, the High Elves get. So the Elf race, the Ashur on the Druchii, the all elves, dark elves, high elves, all the elf thingies, they are the classes that can see stealth units. And just a reminder on the stealth classes, when you go stealth, your enemy cannot see you, your friends cannot see you, your friends cannot heal you. You can cast spells from the shadows, so you can have a stealth shaman and DPS people, you can have a stealth witch hunter and DPS people without breaking your stealth. So here comes the support, the offensive support, Dominator of Gur on the Sorcerer's path, and say, I can see you, and now my friends can see you. Damage doesn't break the stagger, being attacked breaks the stagger 100%. Okay, thank you. So I think this is a must-have tactic for any elf hard specialization, high elf or dark elf that has it. Because, trust me, we will see a lot of shamans, a lot of witch hunters, and, okay, I'll give you the spoiler, a lot of stealth dogs that are going to DPS from the shadows. So we're going to need the friendly elves, because nobody likes the elves. Now we all love them because they can protect us from all those sneaky people. And we'll see that later down, okay? We'll see how the stealth dock is going to work. So it's a must-have tactic in my opinion. A Vengeful Hood with 5 ranks passive, there is a 10% chance whenever an enemy hits you with a skill, not spells and abilities, they will also take damage from that skill. Ooh. Is this the one you go, hit me, hit me, hit me, and the people die, is it? So, sorry, because sometimes I'm trying to do a little bit of builds as we go through this, but so we can have this one. Then we can have the one that is healed to reflect damage. Oh, Ramasee, what have you done here? Bestial Surge, Lore of the Beasts, instant. Applies a 10-second enchantment to target ally for the duration. Their penetration is increased by 750. Their sagacity is increased by 750. And their AP regen is increased by 2. If you augment it, the enchantment instead of 10 seconds lasts for 15 seconds. And if you choose this, you also unlock a tactic called Amber Talons. Bestial Surge will now apply to all group mates within 150 feet. It's missing when cast, but it now has a 20-second cooldown. Ooh. I don't mind that. That's a good spell. It's a nice buff, offensive buff. Increase the penetration, the amount of critical damage you do, and AP regen for 15 seconds. Hell yeah. Fate of Doom tactic. Whenever you deal direct damage to enemies, if they die within 3 seconds, they will have Forlorn. Forlorn is from Return of Reckoning. You've played it. The little thing Witch Hunters and Witch Elves put on top, and you can be resurrected. Some classes, don't remember which ones at this point. They do have some ability towards the end of the builds of the paths here that give them God mode. Like everything goes to 300% damage or ability, HP, whatever, for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is. And then they die. No one can save them. And then they can be resurrected. They go back. So that's what Forlorn is. You can be resurrected by any means except releasing and coming back. Extra crit. With 3 ranks, you change your chance to critically hit is increased by 6%. Flock of Doom, again passive with 3 ranks. You deal 3% spell attack power and 42 corporeal damage up to 9 enemies within 10 feet of you every 2 seconds. What? This is cheating. So you deal 9% of your spell attack power and 126 corporeal damage to 9 enemies within 10 feet. Okay, it's a bit smaller radius. Every 2 seconds, no action points, no cooldowns, no global cooldown, nothing. We'll just sit there and you're dealing damage. What is this, AFK farming? Oh god, I'm gonna make me make one of these guys to just go farm scales for potions and shit. I know you don't have to because you can get it from PvP, but Murderous Prowess. You gain, it's a morale 3, you gain 50% critical chance and accuracy for 20 seconds. That's what I need on my tank. Put this on the engineer tank. Jesus. Verge of Victory. Whenever you land in Killing Blow, you will gain 20 adrenaline per second for 8 seconds. Whenever a group mate within 100 feet lands a Killing Blow, you will gain 5 adrenaline per second for 8 seconds. This is a tactic. And it's a tactic, sorry. And adrenaline, that's what I want to say. Adrenaline is the morale resource. Sorry, adjusting the temperature a bit because it's summer here. Ockham's Mindrazor. Instant. Part of the Lore of Shadow spells. Applies a 30-second blessing to target ally. For the duration, whenever they deal direct damage to an enemy, they will deal an additional 10% spell attack power and 121 indirect spiritual damage to the target. If it's augmenting, the effect lasts for 45 seconds. Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, Sorcs had that spell anyways with a chance to deal damage. Now it's more standardized, no biggie. The Beast Unleashed, another passive with 4 ranks. Whenever you augment any spell, you will gain one of the 4 effects. 1 stack of enhanced strength, 1 stack of enhanced agility, 750 armor for 5 seconds, plus 1 mass for 5 seconds. Is I'm assuming this is random. Or do you get like a stack of a hand strength if it's a beast spell, or if it's a shadow spell, you get the other thing, or is it random? I think it's random. I think you say whenever you augment any spell, you will gain one of those 4 effects at random. Or you will randomly gain one of the 4 effects. Master of Gear, tactic, every 5 seconds you generate 1 Wind of Beast. Winter's Frost, one of my favorite morals. Up to 24 enemies within 20-foot area you select become rooted, silenced, and disarmed. All of them. Right, okay. Transformation of Kadon. No cost, insta cast, 45-second cooldown. Part of the Lord of Beast. This ability consumes all winds of beast and grants 5 stacks plus 5 additional per wind of beast consumed. You become a beast as long as you have stacks. You lose 2 stacks every second and gain 1 stack every time you use an ability. While transformed, you have 2-second faster cast time. You gain 40 toughness per stack and you gain 1 wind of beast every second. Your range will be reduced by 75% and all of your abilities now scale with melee attack power instead of spell attack power. What? Here we go. What? I get the transformation, okay? It's just the mechanic is just confused me there. So you will consume all winds of beast, all right? So because I need to understand, I'm assuming other people need to as well. So we gain 1 randomly, we have a maximum of 3. Let's assume we're going to use this when we have all 3 winds of beast. So we get 5 stacks plus 5 additional per wind of beast. So we have 3. So 5 plus 15, that's 20 stacks. Okay, and we'll become a beast. Arrgh. So as long as we have 20 stacks. We lose 2 stacks every second. So that is a 10-second duration at this point. And then we gain 1 stack every time we use an ability. So I'm assuming that will take us up to 15 seconds roughly, including global cooldowns and whatever. While you're transformed, you have a 2-second faster cast time and you gain 40 toughness per stack and you gain 1 Wind of Beast every second. So we can cast more Wind of Beast spells and be augmented at the same time. And the range goes down and we use melee. Okay, it's going to be fun. Is this the first transformation or is there another class that has transformation? Because I don't remember one. But I think people are going to have fun with this. People love to change to wolves and things and that. See, here it says you are transformed. I'm trying to imagine how it's going to look. I need to Google. It's the only transformation. Okay. I don't know if Kadon, it says transformation of Kadon. I don't know what Kadon is. It's going to look what? Like a bear, like a wolf, like a mastodon, like a T-Rex. How's this people going to look like? And then finally we have Power of Darkness, which is the morale boosting, the 3-second channel, which you deal damage every 0.5 seconds up to 48 enemies, 30-foot area you select. And every time you hit somebody, you get a debuff, you get a buff, which stacks up to 100 times and lasts for a second, and it gives you 10% extra damage as long as people don't have cover from you. That's my. And that concludes the Dominator of Gur, which is the offensive support heart specialization for the Sorcerer in the Druchii. Now let's go and see the third heart specialization for the Sorcerer, Sorceress, whatever you want, which is a healer. It's not another DPS or defensive support or offensive support. Sorcs now are healers, and let's go and see how they are going to be healing. Wings of Falcon, Flock of Doom, and the Beast Unleashed makes more sense when you include the transformation. Well, I'm just going through them for people to have an idea here. But yeah, most of the, especially the support classes, they're the ones that think that they need a little bit more digging in to make the most out of them. The DPS are a little bit more straightforward, you know, whether they have one or two ways of playing them. And then I think the other hard one is the non-standard tanks like Lion Slayers, Engineers, because they don't have, how can I put it, a clear role. It's more wide what they do with how they defend, and you need a little bit of time to get your head around those. Anyways, Dominator of Shy-ish. So let's see, it's the same mechanic here, still Winds of Magic. Let's see one more time, because now we're going to see a healer Sorc. So let's take it all from the beginning. So Winds of Magic, every 3 seconds you will gain 1 stack of Wind of Magic at random. Shadow, Beast, and Death, stacking up to 3 times. Whenever you cast a spell of that Lore of Magic, it will consume 1 stack if present and augment the spell. You have access to a no-cost, no-cooldown toggle ability, which prevents you from using Winds of Magic while active. So if you don't want to augment your spells because you're waiting for the burst and you have the stacks, so you play with the toggle. It's pretty much the same mechanic that a Zealot or a Rune Priest has when it goes DPS and this, so you can control on and off if you want to augment to get the extra benefits or not on the right moment, or you can have it always off or on. So Blade Wind, basic attack, deals 6% spell attack power and 133 spiritual damage to target enemy, generates 40 action points. Doom Bolt, 3-second cast time, deals 55% spell attack power, 744 spiritual damage to target enemy. This is a new one, Moore's Peace, 1.75 second cast time. No cooldown, is part of the Lore of Death, restores 13% restoration power and 179 health to target groupmate and apply aspect of Dread Knight to them. If it's augmented, restore an additional 10% restoration power and 131 health to target. Aspect of the Dread Knight lasts for 15 seconds. Whenever you deal direct damage, groupmates within 150 feet of you with this buff are healed for 8% of the damage you deal. So this is the first healing spell of the Sorcerer healer. And so our first heal does heal and a buff. If it's augmenting, it does more heal. And the buff we give them is that then we can go and DPS from range, and every time we DPS, we heal whoever has this buff. It could be you. Okay. Word of Pain, instant, applies an alignment to target enemy for 10 seconds. At the end of the duration, target will take 23% spell attack power and 311 spiritual damage. Anzipal's Black Horror again applies an enchantment to target ally for 15 seconds. Whenever they are attacked, you will deal 7% spell attack power and 89 corporeal damage to the target. So we're getting these ones a little bit sooner. You can have multiple aspects of the Dread Knight active as well. So you can go heal 3 people, for example. It lasts for 15 seconds, and then you can DPS for the next 10 and keep healing them. Okay, it's good to know. Choking Shadows, part of the Lore of Shadow, instant cast, applies silence to the target, and also if you augment it, it slows them down by 30% for 16 seconds. Soul Harvest, part of the Lore of Death, 1.75 second cast time, applies an alignment to the target enemy for 15 seconds. Every 3 seconds, the target will take 12% spell attack power and 175 spiritual damage, and your defensive target will be healed for 100% of the damage dealt. If its augmented ability is now instant cast and applies a blessing. Blessing to alignment, one of them is harder to dispel than the other one, so you can protect your buffs and debuffs by augmenting or not. So we're dealing, it's a dot, deals damage every 3 seconds, and the defensive target we heal by 100% of the damage. So now we can have like 2, so we can do Dread Heal, augment to do more healing, apply Dread Knight automatically, Then do Soul Harvest to apply a dot to deal damage and heal for 100%. And on top of that, then we can do a couple of Doom Bolts or whatever, and we hit the target, and then we heal the defensive. It has 2. Okay, I like where this is going. I like where this is going. Boar's Hide is your detone. You receive 50% less damage, but your spell cast time is increased by 33% for 4 seconds. If you do augment it, reduce the cooldown by 20 seconds from 40 to 20. Tactics are exactly the same as before here. The first two, we have alignment of Nagaroth. It's a tactic. Whenever you use basic attack, and all group mates within 100 feet that have this tactic will gain 670 critical hit rating for 4 seconds. Bathing in blood, you are healed for 7% of the damage you deal. So while you're dealing damage to heal everybody else, you automatically heal yourself as well. I think this will be a must-have tactic for the healer sorcerer. Empowered Dar, whenever you hit an enemy with an augmenting spell, you will dispel 1 enchantment from them. And tapping the guard reduces the cast time of Doombolt by 1 second. I think it's more DPS oriented. And again, this class will equip staffs. Now the morals we're going to start with, because this so far are the spells you start with, your default, is Return to Life Morale 1. It's a 3-second cast, and you return somebody back to life at the location of the corpse for 2,000 health, and no other resources. Cannot be used on corpse with Forlorn. Focus Mind, Morale 2, you gain about 15 seconds. During that time, abilities have 50% faster cast time, and you will have 100% pushback immunity. Divine Protection, Morale 3, all group mates within 100 feet gain a buff for 15 seconds. They will absorb up to 200% restoration power and 1,500 damage for the duration of those 15 seconds. And Alter Fate, Morale 4, removes all alignments and cripples from its groupmate within 100 feet and also applies Return Life, Resurrect, its dead groupmate with 100 feet. AoE Cleanse with AoE Resurrection. So this is how this is your basic skills you're going to start with if you choose to play the Dominator of Shish, which is a healer sorcerer. Let's see the more specific skills we can pick up further down. First one is Embodiment of Shish. Passive with 2 ranks. Whenever you augment a lot of death spell, you will gain 3 adrenaline regen for 5 seconds. So that will buff your morale. Adrenaline is the morale currency. Water Rush. Hold on, we need to put some more points here. Water Rush tactic. The action point cost of your skills reduced by 33% on allies that are lower than 40% health. Aspect of Dread Knight. Aspect of Dread Knight will now heal for 16% of the damage dealt. It has 4 upgrades, so you can take that all the way up to 40, and I think you should. You're playing a healer here. Curse of Anahir. It's part of the Lord of Beasts with 1 second cast time. You deal 10% spell attack power and 145 corporeal damage to target enemy, and you apply 1 stack of reduced strength. If you augment it, you apply additionally 1 stack of reduced toughness and reduced corporeal resistance. Click. You can also pick at this level a Hunter's Trap, which is Morale 1, and you can root somebody. Vision of Domination. Career tactic. Word of Pain is now a cripple with a 6-second duration. Word of Pain had 10-second duration. It deals the damage at the end of 10 seconds, so now you can make it deal the damage in 6 seconds. Grief's End, another tactic. Whenever a groupmate lands a killing blow, you will gain 5 adrenaline regen for 8 seconds. Whenever a groupmate dies, you will gain 25 adrenaline regen for 8 seconds. Looks like we're getting a lot more tactics here to buff our morals. More stats, and then improved Blade Wind. Blade Wind now generates 46 action points. You can buff it twice to go to 52. Blade Wind is your basic attack. It does okay-ish damage, I suppose, but it's the way you regenerate fast AP. And for this, the healer sorcerer is good because you need a DPS to heal. So it's also 100 feet range, so you can use that, get your AP up, and do something else, and then cycle that. Occam's Mind Razor, part of the Lore of Shadow, instant cast, applies a 30-second blessing to target ally. For the duration, whenever they deal direct damage to an enemy, they will deal additionally 10% spell attack power and 121 indirect damage, spiritual damage to the target. If it's augmented, now it lasts, instead of 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Shroud of Darkness, morale 2, target ally gains about 5 seconds, where you apply 1 stack of all resistances, and they're all enhanced. I'm not reading it again. All resistances enhanced. Eyes of Truth, you can see players under Stalk, and your abilities will dispel Stalk from the enemies. This is a master thing for every Druchii to have. The elf races, the high elves and the dark elves, are the only ones that can see stealth units with this tactic and can pull them out of the shadows. Also reminding again, stealth classes can DPS from stealth without breaking it, so it will be very important to have classes like this. Of course, they can't stay forever in the shadows. Probably they can do 1 or 2 spells before they come out, but it's still annoying. Improve Boar's Hide. This is a skill which is passive with 2 ranks and increases the duration of your detaunt from, what is it? From 4 seconds all the way up to 6 seconds. It could be useful, depends on the situation, I suppose. Mockery of Death, part of the Lord of Death, applies an alignment to target enemy for 10 seconds. Whenever the target is healed, you will deal 9% spell attack power and 128 spiritual damage to the healer. If you augment it, you will also deal 25% damage to the target as well. I think this is a kick-ass spell. Acceptance of Fate, passive with 5 ranks. Morse Piece will now have a 0.1 faster cast time. Put all the points there, it's half a second. So it becomes 105. 105 seconds. And this is your main healing spell, so could be useful. I think I've missed this combo here. So if we pick Okram's Mind Razor, we also unlock a tactic called Finger of Life. Okram's Mind Razor will now heal the buff holder for 75% of the damage it deals. I'll read again what Okram's Mind Razor does. Apply a 30-second blessing to target ally for the duration. Whenever they deal direct damage, they do an additional 10% damage. So if we also have the tactic on, whoever has this buff will also get healed for 75% of the damage it deals. 75% of the extra 10 that we're doing. Fate of Juna tactic. Soul Harvest deals 50% additional damage but no longer has innate life tap. Blessing of Assuran passive. Gain 25% pushback. It has 3 ranks. You can gain 75% pushback, which I think is very important for every healer. But you may pick it, you may not pick it. I don't think it's that great, but it's there. It's nice to have these options. Purple Pal of Shish. Career tactic. Whenever you augment a lot of death spell, you will gain a blessing for 8 seconds. For the duration, absorb up to 11 restoration power and 149 damage. There we go. A tactic. Force extra shielding. Final words. Passive with 3 ranks. You have 5% outgoing damage and outgoing healing against targets with 40% or less health. I like that. Murderous Prowess. Again, morale 3. You gain 50% critical hit chance and accuracy for 20 seconds. I don't think that's good for a healer, but it's racial. Loved by All. Renowned tactic. You always have immovable. Your mass is decreased by 2. So you can be punted, pulled, and something else. But you also lose 2 mass, which makes you susceptible to other types of CC. Spirit Leech, passive again with 4. A lot of passive towards the end on this one. Doombolt and Word of Pain now deal 8% less damage, but will heal your defensive target for 15% of the damage dealt. Pretty nice, and that could go up if we had the points. Let's take a couple of points out there. So I need one more. Let's put it there. So if we max this one out, Doombolt and War of Pain now deal 32% less damage, but it heals your defense target for 150. So this is a Sorc healer. If you want to play him as a healer, I think this is going in the right direction there. Pants Impenetrable Pelts is part of the Lord of the Beast with insta cast. Applies 1 stack of enhanced Resistance is, you can read it. I'm not doing this again. If you augment it, applies an 8-second enchantment as well. And for that duration, the target damage reduction is increased by 20%. So it's a defensive thingy. Master of Sheesh, carry tactic. Every 5 seconds, you generate 1 Wing of Death. My favorite morale so far, Winter's Frost. Up to 24 enemies within 20 feet area you select become rooted, silenced, and disarmed. Everybody instantly. And this is a new one. Amon-Rath. 3-second channel, part of the Lord of Death spells. Deals 28% spell attack power, 382 spiritual damage to target every second. If you augment it, applies aspect of the Dread Knight to all group mates within 150. Oh, what's the cooldown? 30 seconds. We can deal with that. Aspect of the Dread Knight lasts 15 seconds. Whenever you deal direct damage, group mates within 150 feet of you with this buff are healed for 8%. So you spend 3 seconds, you buff everybody for 15, and then you get 12 seconds or so to DPS and heal them, plus whatever else you're going to be doing, which is pretty great. And again, the Sorcerer still has the same Zerg-Bastion ability, Power of Darkness. You deal damage every 0.5 second for 5% of your spell attack power and 50 spiritual, up to 48 enemies in a 30-foot area around you, and every time you hit somebody, you gain a stack of a buff that grants you 10% outgoing damage with a maximum of 100 and the last 1 second. And of course, that can work only if they do not have cover from you. And this is the last hard specialization of the Sorcerer, part of the Druchii race. So we have, on the Sorcerer, we have the first hard specialization where you're a pure DPS. Pretty much the same way you remember how to play Sorc from the other version of the game. Second hard specialization, you have an offensive support, a little bit more buffing and debuffing and less damage, helping the group out. And then the third hard specialization, which is a healer that you apply your buffs and debuffs and then you DPS, and those buffs and debuffs shield your group mates, your allies. And of course, you have like 1 or 2 dark heals as well. I think this will be this healer will be interesting. It feels that now it feels like a shaman and an archmage. The way it was that you have to DPS to buff your heals, you have to heal to buff your damage. But that was always difficult because you were just DPSing and then you were healing. You were healing and then you were DPSing. And that wasn't working very well. The way the Sorcerer heal works, it makes more sense in a gameplay kind of style, because what you do is you go heal and then you leave buffs while you're healing. And then when you DPS, your damage goes to the people with those buffs and you heal them. So you don't stop healing at any time. You just add damage and then you stop, you do some heals, and then you apply the buffs while you're doing that, and then you go back on the DPSing. So you switch between damage and healing without stopping your healing effectively, which is good. Instead of, oh, I'm DPSing now, oh, somebody's dying, shit. You know, so it makes a lot more sense to DPS to heal the people you buffed, and after 10 seconds or so you stop, you do heal and apply buffs, and then you go back to DPS. That way you don't have a 100% DPS and you don't have 100% healer. It's a mix and it makes more sense in the gameplay. So I like how this is gonna work.